Hello and welcome to RPG Research. I'm your host, Hawk Robinson, and joining me,
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research.
And Danielle Whitworth.
welcome. I'm glad you are here. So, today we had intended to start our evaluation of GURPS. Now, I've run GURPS on and off over the years, GURPS Light and full GURPS. My middle son loved it so much, he ended up becoming quite the GURPS player, especially World War II GURPS. He really, really liked the World War II setting. He's always been a history buff of that time period and such. And I like the system. I do. Some people don't care for it. I like it well enough. I also like Rollmaster. And GURPS is extremely scalable. You can go from very basic to extremely advanced. You can make it more detailed, less detailed. With GURPS Light, it's a very lightweight system, so you don't have to take on all the overwhelming choices for new players. And now they've got GURPS Ultra Light, right? The rules are all on 2 pages, fold into your wallet. So as far as the system goes, it's not overly complex. It's as simple or as complex as you want to make it. That is by design their point. And the beauty of it is lives up to its name. Generic universal role-playing system. And they have so many genres available, although not all of them are still in print. Like the Old West one, it's not in print. It hasn't been in print since like 2000. Yeah, I'm really bummed about that. But we got GURPS Cops, which is in print. We got GURPS Mysteries in print, which can go to any other genre to come with mysteries. We have, now that's out of print. That's from 1998 and not available. So we're gonna talk about why the title. You had your hand up? Is that?
I had my hand over.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not the issue.
That's not the issue. No.
Example, she's not.
We're going to talk about the problem about pre-gens and such. Okay. Too high a barrier to entry. That's the title of this. So we were going to do an applied gaming session for assuming somebody's new to a game, playing the game. By the way, we're in our new studio setup. We just moved everything yesterday, so the lighting's off and everything's scatterwampus on it, all the green screen's up. I know my face is blasted out. I'm sorry. Audio may not be dialed in perfectly. Bear with us. We just moved the studio yesterday. All these books, everything we moved.
Yes.
Thank you, you wonderful volunteers, for making this happen. But anyway, bear with us during the move here. So we've got steampunk GURPS, right? Nice and shiny and new, fun stuff. I got a ton of GURPS. I got all the core. We got the superhero stuff between powers and supers. Supers and powers. We've got, magic and fantasy and the core basic set for campaigns and characters. I even got the steampunk miniature set and more. I've got tons of World War II, a whole bunch of GURPS stuff. So I like GURPS, but remember, we're always trying to understand other people's perspectives, and especially people who have never role-played before at all. And they're interested in this, what is this role-playing game thing I'm hearing about? Now, a lot of people just default to going to Dungeons & Dragons first to cut their teeth on role-playing, and that's fine. But other systems have a clue and have made some of their games accessible to people who've never played, who want to go on their own. They don't necessarily have any friends to go to who role-play. They heard about somewhere and they want to check it out. So since 1982, I have that ready in a minute. Since 1982, I argue there has not been a proper introductory box set to role-playing gaming for somebody who has no friends that are in role-playing gaming. They have friends, but nobody who role-plays. Mm-hmm. And one of them takes the initiative and buys a game, first learns it themselves, then brings in their friends and runs through the first campaign. I'm arguing, so far, got a pretty good collection here. So I've been gaming since 77, John since 79, and, we've run a lot of games. We've owned a lot of games. My argument is, so far, I've not been able to find a more complete basic introduction to role-playing gaming than the 1982 Frank Metzer basic D&D. We had the blue and the 77 and 78 versions, but this is the best introduction to role-playing gaming, hands down. Do you agree?
I definitely agree.
Every attempt that other D&D versions have done and other games have done doesn't even come close to a beginning introductory that you're by yourself. You play 3 adventures with the player's handbook. This player's handbook is only I know I go on about this, but it's such a big deal, and I'm shocked that manufacturers aren't getting this. There's only 63 pages in this player's manual, and I think 48 in the DM's guide. Half the pages are 3 adventures that you start out by page 2 or 3 doing an adventure. Then you learn a little bit more of the rules. You learn a little bit during the adventure. Then you learn a little bit of the rules, and you kind of flesh out your character a little bit. Then you go to another adventure, and you learn more of the rules as you play the adventure.
Learning by layering.
Learning by layering. This is a neuroscience proven way for learning that's far more effective than any other. Don't front end all the they don't need to know all the rules up front. Teach them the rules as they go in application form. Then when you get them past a certain basic level of competence and confidence, then you can load them up. When I taught music, it was the same thing. Teachers who did a crappy job, who turned people off to music, and so people never got the love of music, it's because they were given all this theory up front. You must memorize all your scales. You must memorize your theory. You must memorize. Well, when do I get to create music? 2 or 3 years down the road, you'll get to actually play and create music. Till then, memorize, and just take it all in. And most of these people don't pursue their love of music. The students I had, if some of them had tried and lost the interest because of what happened, but they really wanted to learn, but all the teachers were that way, I said, okay, what are the 2 pieces you would love to learn on guitar, which generally I was teaching? What are the 2 pieces you would love to be able to play? And they'd tell me the 2 pieces. And if I didn't know it already, and I didn't know who the band was, I'd say, well, give me a tape or something, or let me listen, or I'd go find it. This is before internet access was readily. I had the internet, but not the web. And I would quickly learn a basic version of the piece, either by ear or tab or whatever. And then I would teach them. They would have basic exercises because you got to build up finger strength and calluses. But the exercises directly related to learning the song, while also building a foundation that they would be able to build on. So good, solid foundation, but immediate. Within 2 weeks, they were playing their first 2 songs. Were they playing them well? No. Were they recognizable and they were happy and excited? Oh, yeah. Now they're hooked. Now they will do the hard work to grow. And then I started giving them more complicated exercises, and we'd work on another piece and layer in more complexity over time. Several of these people went on for careers of playing guitar and bass. They went on USO tours and did it for a living. They're not famous or anything, but they went on to become professional musicians for a living. Some of them had been totally turned off to music because of what these other teachers did. Same thing with role-playing game. And I don't know what it is with the role-playing game industry. It's really starting to frustrate me. The more I dig into this, I'm like, everybody has got blinders on. They see inside their own bubble of the gaming community. And they have all these assumptions, and they can't think outside of their own bubble. You know, we get lambasted for talking about the attacks of the 80s. Like, why do you even talk about that? It has no effect. Nobody cares about that. It doesn't affect us. Nobody bothers us about it. You get harassed by people. Well, it never happens to us. It must be you. Well, we don't get harassed when we go to gaming conventions and gaming groups and stuff. Nobody there gives us any trouble because you're preaching to the choir. But you go anywhere else in the world, library, professional conferences, parked on the street at a park.
Having a sticker on your car.
Having a sticker on your car, whatever, on your laptop.
Walking by the bus.
You will get lambasted frequently. And that's okay. I'm prepared for that. And I've got on my license plate now, right? RPG on my license plate. I'm ready. Bring it on. But people are in this insular bubble, in-group thing, and so many are just oblivious. And yet the majority are against gamers and gaming. It's just because of the inculcated myths. We're working on that. It's changing. It's hugely improved. So all these game manufacturers keep seeming to assume that you will have some experienced game master picking up their product to then introduce new players. So they've recruited game. Now, do you know what a shortage there is of game masters?
Yeah.
It's like drummers for bands and stuff. There's always a shortage. There's never enough.
Having to get game masters for conventions, I'm well aware how short.
Yeah, John, especially you had 1 month for Worldcon, and you needed to run a game. You had 4,200 attendees at Worldcon, not that many players, but it was a big con, Worldcon 73. You had 1 month to throw a gaming division together, and you were able to get how many GMs? And you were already well networked. You already had the Spokane Area Gaming Alliance and everything, and you've been doing this for decades. How many did you pull together? About a dozen? On your roster, you had to kind of rotate through and stuff, but
we kept people working for any hours.
So more time, you could have gotten more, but you did an amazing job in that short of time. Everybody's complaining there's not enough game masters, and the producers of these games are shooting themselves in the foot because we need more game masters, but they're making the barrier to entry for becoming a game master way too high. I'm not talking about being a great game master, good game master, or even a professional game master, you know, as we do, you know, paid and all of that. I'm talking about a kid sees something on TV, hears about it in an article, goes to a game store, if anybody ever does that anymore, whatever, gets a Christmas present, asks for it at Christmas, or gets it as a surprise from a parent. So what does work is if in their Christmas present package they've got a little box like this with a set of dice. These 2 books. You open it, and we're coming to GURPS. I'm laying the foundation here, and I've done it before, but it's always applicable. Start here. What is role playing? What role I play? This is page 1. Your first adventure. Sorry, that's page 2. Page 1 is the table of contents.
Okay.
Page 2 is what is role playing, and it's pretty good sized text, a little bit of artwork, no arc behind the text, so it's easy to read. Clear, concise, step by step. Page 3, your first adventure. I am, depending upon your reading speed, a minute or 2 into this, right? Assuming I didn't skip over and I actually read it. Reading speed max 5 minutes for 1 page. That, you know, that would be for younger kids or whatever. It starts with a story. Your hometown is just a small place with dirt roads, right? Boom! You're in a story. You're in an adventure. And it walks you through it. It only gives you a little bit of the rules. And then a little bit more. And you learn through the story. You learn through adventure. We learn through exploring. Neuroscience proves this is the most effective way of learning, hands down. Then you have your second adventure, and you get some more rules. And they load up the rules now a little bit more because you got to pick equipment and customize your character a little bit. And then adventure 3, you're really doing it. You don't need anybody else to play. You're learning the rules by yourself because you don't have any to turn to. There is no game master to teach you. This is grooming you to become a game master for your friends. Or if you don't have friends or you're in the countryside or something, make some friends, find some friends, whatever.
Get online.
So whether you have friends or not have friends, this is grooming you to run a group. First, you got to learn how to play.
Yep.
And if you don't have a group to go to, because everybody else is assuming there's going to be a group you're going to come into, you can't count on that. This lets you start playing. Now, once you do those 3 adventures, you will have done this game 3 times through full adventures, short but complete, beginning, middle, end. Then, the Dungeon Master Guide. Now, Call of Cthulhu, we'll go into more detail in a minute, gets the first part, the playing part, the 7th edition, nails it. We did a whole playthrough with the unboxing of it months ago.
You did this one,
The
right?
multiple modules. Well, yeah, there's a version, yeah. There's multiple. That's all. Those are solos as well. Those are multiple adventures.
You did this one.
We did the introductory box set.
Right.
And they nailed it on introduction. Yeah, because of the green. Because Cthulhu's seen through you. They nailed it with the introductory. That is a beautifully done introductory solo adventure to teach you how to play Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, assuming you have never done a role-playing game and you have nobody to turn to teach you. And they did a beautiful job of it. Wouldn't you agree, Danielle? Because you were part of that.
I thought it was really good from the player's perspective.
Yeah, as far as learning to play the game, they nailed it.
And I think that can be useful for the GM, but I think that it would have been better. First
step, learn to play the game. You can't count on having a GM, so teach. If you want people to buy your products, play your products, let them be able to play it without having to rely on anybody else. Mm-hmm. So solo adventure books and modules, basically.
Yep. SABMs.
Now, where Call of Cthulhu 7th edition falls down on its face is step 2 of the Dungeon Master section. Mm-hmm. They require you to read all the rules, and the introductory rules, but read all the way through the rules and the adventure. So hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of preparation before you can actually then try to find friends, try to run them through, and it doesn't have good boxes of reading. There's not really good scripting. There's pieces. But if you've never GM'd before, it's not terrible. There's a lot worse out there than what they do. It's not bad. But you can't just open the box and start playing when you bring your friends. This one lets you do that. It says after you played your 3 adventures, loan this book to your friends. So one by one, loan it to your friends. Let them play through so they get familiar with it. And then see if they like it, right? They're like, ooh, I want to do more of that. And so then, once you've got one or more friends, you only need one other friend to play, right? To DM. This goes to page 2. It says read through it, just as you did the player's manual, etc. But it talks about, in your adventures so far, you've met many fearsome monsters, goblins, skeletons, and even a rust monster. There are dozens of other monsters described in this booklet. You found treasures, coins of all types, gems, and a magical potion. There are dozens of other treasures here. You have visited a dungeon, some caves near a town. There's a new dungeon in this booklet. You will also learn how to put all these things together, make your own dungeons, run games for other players, and probably have more fun than you ever imagined. Scoring last week at Eagle Peak Schools for Spokane Public School District. So normally we scale of 1 to 10.
Yep.
Average is 7 to 9 we usually get from our paid gigs. We've been getting a bunch of 10s lately.
2 10s, one turned into a 50.
He turned into a 50. We had an 11 the week before.
Yeah.
They're like, turned it up to 11. He had no idea what I was referencing with Spinal Tap, but that's okay. 50. Like, woo!
Yeah.
Best. So this is a scale of the most fun you've ever had in your life.
I think
Best experience they ever had in their life.
A little bit.
The 50 maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. You got to realize for these kids, because these are at-risk youth and stuff, they have never had such a good experience. It's sad but true. They're telling you 10 in their current life experience. They have nothing to compare it to that's higher, that is a better experience they've had in their lives. Don't poo-poo the 10s. These
Don't
kids.
Don't make it wait so bad.
It breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart that this experience is the best they've ever had in their life. But for that group especially, the alternative school for the alternative schools, oh my goodness. They are this is an experience like nothing they've ever had.
They have to work to be with us.
Yep.
And it's really nice when they come in and they get high scores.
Yeah. So anyway, this then does do a little bit. It has a section on abbreviations because of the Game Master. You got to know the lingo. We're still just on page 2, right? Page 1 is table of contents. Thank you for good table of contents. Page 3 then jumps into running the game with a checklist. Very quick checklist. Order of events in an encounter, order of events in a game turn, order of events in combat. Boom, that's page 3. Quick, simple button. Page 4. Your first game. This is dungeon mastering. Now, we have done it, right? I hadn't run this for years. I can open this book, hand you character sheets, and in 5 minutes we're playing the game, and I have not pre-read the dungeon. I just read. Now, this is bad that they did dark gray with black text. Yeah. We much better do a box around for contrast, for readability, and don't use italics and such, but that's a separate issue. But this tells me what to read.
This is probably the best.
For accessibility compared to all the others out there. Yeah. It tells you exactly what to read. It is scripted. Yes, it's railroaded. That's the idea. So on the continuum of learning, when you're down here, you have very little control because you have no knowledge. You have to be on the railroad. You have to be on railroad tracks. As you make progress, you can go to training wheels. Then finally, you can take the training wheels off and go to your sandbox and have free-form play. But you have to start here always. Whether it's somebody else teaching you or you're learning on your own, you got to start in a highly prescripted way. And then you work your way up as you build competence and confidence. This does exactly that. He just nailed it. I'm sorry that Frank Mentzer has all this bad rap now because he did bad stuff, apparently. He's been apparently shamed Me Too type stuff recently. So people are like, you know what? I don't want to know. I don't care. Like, it's everybody now. Whatever. That doesn't change. That's the messenger. Let's focus on the message. So now these books are terrible reference books. Once you've learned the game and you're a little more savvy, you want to go get a compendium version of the rules, which is like the rules cyclopedia, where they take all the different, because you have like 6-7 books. You have to look through and find them, and it's terrible. It's like original D&D was the same problem. Well, this puts all the rules in one. This is for somebody who already knows the game. It's well organized. It's all there, but it's not the best. It doesn't teach you to learning step by step. This is after you've learned the system. Whereas this starts you out step by step and then layers in layer after layer of the books, teaching you as you go, as you play, getting you hooked on it to have fun right away. intrinsic motivation. Now you will do the hard work that's required down the road. Did you find you were looking that up?
Yeah, he got removed from. Gary Conn removes Frank Menser as guest of honor.
Yeah, I know. It's everywhere. It's out of control. And yeah, I'm sure he did. It sounds like terrible stuff and everything. Fine, whatever. Doesn't change what matters about the product.
Right.
So this is from 1982. So it says read the box aloud to the players. So you read it. Then it says DM, stop a moment, make sure that all the characters are ready to go. Then you go to the pre-game checklist in case you missed it before. Make sure everybody has their characters, etc. That everybody played through the solo adventures first, so they've got the basics. And then continue reading. Now read the next section to yourself. It says, now read the next section. So you've already read aloud. Read the next section yourself. DM information. Find number 1 on the map, page 13. That's the location, the characters at this point. It's step by step, hand-holding you exactly how to play the game. Real time. You can learn this game on the fly with your friends there. Now you're telling your friends, I've never GM'd this before. This is all new to me. Will you work with me on this and not try to sabotage it and help me and be patient because I'm going to be reading and learning as I go? And hopefully your friends will go, oh, yeah, of course, man, no problem. This is designed to do that. You can just play it by opening the book. Go through, play this a few times, take a few days, whatever, go through that. Share it with your friends over the next few days or weeks. Meanwhile, when they show up, open this book, crack it open, take 5 minutes to prep, start playing in 5 minutes. And you're running a full dungeon adventure. We got pages and pages in here with the maps and everything. We were just playing this just the other week.
Yep.
You got
a castle out front. You got the dungeon inside. And page 13. So pages 4 through 13, you have your adventure. And then you get into procedures and rules, arguments, alignment changes, behavior modification. Yep. Ooh, let's look that up quickly. No, sorry, we're talking about GURPS. Another time.
Yeah. We can talk about that after.
That's fine. Higher level stuff, morale. So it gets into, and it tells you while you're playing the game, jump to this page, jump to this page, jump to this page. While you're learning, you just learn on the fly. And then you get your monster list, etc. So you're still learning, you're doing the adventure, and it's giving you the seeds to create your own from your own ideas. Now we got treasure section, page 43, 48. Then we got charts on the back and 48 pages. And this is levels 1 through 3 for adventure. It is all you need is these 2 books, paper, pencil, and dice. And you've got levels 1 through 3. And remember, old D&D took a lot longer to level up.
A lot longer.
Oh, quit complaining. You earn your stripes. It's also really easy to die.
Yes.
Poor guy, 1 hit point. Was that you? Had 1 hit point?
Yes.
But it takes
and
you.
So did you.
Yeah.
You now have 1 hit point.
No.
Well, no, that was just that
4
level.
4 hit points as a 3rd level character.
Oh yeah.
It takes the first time you make a character. It takes about 15 minutes to make a character and 15 minutes to do your equipment. The first time.
Yeah.
Once you die and you've done that first time, it took you total 15 minutes total between equipment and character. That's how quick and easy. People are like, "Oh, we need a rules light system." Hello, already existed since 1978. I mean, OD&D was light, but it was a mess. So
Yeah.
What once was old is new again, and everybody's acting like it's a new thing. So you are being walked through how to play this. You have now groomed a new DM. Now, they may not take to DMing. They may go, this is too much work. Does somebody else here want to try this? Let them run you through. Now, there are other...
It will be different every time.
Well, there is that, but they have other modules like B1, which is for the beginning game master, that does the exact same thing. B1 walks you through step by step. It assumes you've never GM'd before.
In there.
Yeah, but step by step, you've never GM'd before. You've brought your friends together. There are several of those in the B books that assume you've never GM'd before yet. So each of your friends can take you each through a different adventure until you find out who likes to GM. Maybe all 4 or 5 of you decide, I love playing this, but I don't like GMing it. Let's go find somebody who will GM us. That's fine.
And we don't charge them.
Or we're just going to keep rotating because we all hate it.
Or, actually, I think this is the one that's on, but I'm not sure.
Are we talking to one mic the whole night?
Go ahead and tap it. Yeah. Oh. 3.
Shotgun on?
No, it's... Yeah, it is.
Stop tapping.
Oh, no.
No.
Sorry, I had muted it. They can still hear you on the other mics, but
I'm not worried about them not hearing.
You are not a wallflower. So, role-playing game manufacturers are doing themselves and the community a disservice with their current tactics of trying to front-load everything. They're showing complete disregard for how human brains work with learning. They have an insular, self-gazing approach that is not welcoming and bringing in new people as well as it could. D&D 5th edition has gotten popular. It's cool, but we have to teach people how to play the game. The 5th edition box set, for somebody who's never role-played before, is too much for somebody to really get, especially if they're younger.
I had a hard time when I first picked it up.
Yeah, and you never role-played before, and you're an adult.
Okay. I had done a couple of things where people had literally
been around
my character.
But
I've been around it.
Yeah, that's not...
But that's not the same as playing a lot of it. And I had...
So, 1982. Cthulhu got it right for learning to be a player, not for the DM. Mm-hmm. That is the closest since 1982 that I can find, out of all these game manufacturers so far that I can find, 1982 was the last time somebody had a clue about how to bring people who have never role-played before and have no role-playing friends and make new product consumers, right? Let's talk business here. This is called barrier to entry. If you set too high a barrier to entry, you automatically limit and slow down market growth potential. Now, we've had a booming years in role-playing gaming. It's slowed down recently a little bit. The last 10, 12 years has been amazing. Talked about in other videos, we won't go into that. But adoption is still a fraction of what it should be. So in 2008, the hobby board tabletop game market was around 300 million. It's now 1.6, 1.8 billion, right? Is that about the last number we looked at? As of last year, yes?
I just thought of another game that does a really good job of doing intro for the Game Master.
What?
It is No Thank You Evil. With the...
You're right.
I'm a guide.
You're right. No Thank You Evil does do a good job. It's geared for 5-year-olds.
It doesn't take you through an adventure, but it keeps its core
because it's such a simple system...
into a very small amount of...
Yeah, but it still doesn't hold your hand through. There isn't a solo.
But it doesn't have a solo.
Doesn't have a solo.
No.
It still relies on either you understanding it or somebody introducing you first. It still is the mindset of somebody introducing you to playing first, which is what all these others do to different degrees.
Well,
now,
even board games. I play a lot of board games, and they expect you for some of the bigger, more mini-driven board games to... First off, you're paying almost $100, and then on top of that, you have to read the entire rule book, and if you don't have a mind like my fiance's who can consume that more than once to be able to play through...
And again, we're not talking about system complexity here so much. That is a factor, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the approach. You can teach the most complicated concepts to pigeons, right? You can teach pigeons to navigate missiles. I mean that literally, not figuratively.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
That was what Skinner did. He trained pigeons to control missiles, to play piano, control missiles, things like that, and tended to be more accurate than human beings through their training. Because of the layered learning. Now that's conditioning, that's a more basic fundamental thing, but the point is learning in layers. So anyway, let me finish the point about the market and then come, because we're talking about barrier to entry, and that has to do with market share and such. So 2008, overall board game tabletop market, around 300 million. As of last year, around 1.6, 1.8 billion. Huge growth. That's phenomenal growth. Role-playing gaming was around 20 million in 2008. It's now, what was the number, 45 or 60, 50? It was 45 to 50 million. So a fraction of the 1.8, 1.6, 1.8 billion. But it doubled. It more than doubled. From 20 million to 45, whatever, in 10 to 12 years. What's that?
It had the fastest growth.
Yeah, and it's still growing. Board games are slowing down, and it's still doing pretty darn well. But that is a tiny market. 20, 45, 50. Let's even need to say 50 million. Yeah, it is. That is a tiny market, and that's a worldwide market. That's millions of people play. Now, this is one of the problems with role-playing gaming is you don't have to keep buying product.
Nope.
And that's why it's hard as a business.
Play on all of this.
Yeah, and never buy it again.
Never buy again.
Never again. I know, and that is a problem with that particular. That is a problem with the business model. However, game developers, game designers, game publishers, game marketers, all of you, you are shooting yourselves in the foot because you have created too high a barrier to entry because you are too in your own bubble about what people need to learn and how to start playing a game. We work all the time with all levels from 2 years old to 90 plus years old, all levels of function, people who've never been exposed to role-playing gaming in any way.
And we're trying to expose them.
And we want to expose them. We're able to facilitate this, and we're introducing new people every week to the joys of role-playing gaming, many different systems. But we can only do so much, even with 60 plus volunteers, and all that. It doesn't scale versus if you release an introductory box set that is actually introductory.
Right.
Introduction. Hi, John. I've never met you before. What is the standard format for introducing each other? Oh, I need to give you equals MC squared, blah, 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 and I'll load up all these rules, and this is how physics works, and life, and my life, and my wife, and my this, and my kids, and this, and everything else. And then, oh, by the way, my name is Hawk.
It's name, pronouns, and what show you haven't finished watching.
Yeah. So which is... okay. So, was that the right way to do it, to jump in and overshare? Or should I start with, hi, my name is Hawk. What is your name? Yeah.
Start basic.
Yeah. And then layer it in. Role-playing game designers, what's going on? Frank Metzer got it. He clearly understood. Luckily, this is back in print through PDF, and then Pod is hit or miss. But you can go to DriveThruRPG and it's $5 per book, so 2 books is $10. You can now play all the way up to 3rd level, just doing that, making your own adventures. You can just play. Buy the modules; they're about $5 to $10. Mm-hmm. Cheap, way easier to learn than 5th edition. Way faster.
So what I don't get nowadays too is that you used to get an adventure, and it was a booklet.
Mm-hmm. And adventure module, yeah.
And it didn't seem so overwhelming.
No, it was.
And if you wanted to keep going, you bought the next one in that series.
Right, or a campaign module if you really wanted more freedom.
Yes,
if you wanted more sandbox,
now we only get campaign modules unless you want to go to DriveThruRPG.
Yeah, if that. You may just get source books.
And then you're in charge of creating all your own.
Which and for me, huge investment of time and energy.
For me, I like to be able to pick up a book like No Thank You Evil, right? Read it, set it down, go do something else, come back to my game, and just start running it. And be able to read little hints throughout the whole time so that I can do it. I really like it's Cubicle 7's
One Ring, AIM, Doctor Who.
Adventures in Middle-earth.
Okay.
But it took me a while.
Because it's based on D&D 5th edition.
Not just that, but also to be able to grab the book and start playing right off. You guys saw it. I lost my confidence for a while there in GMing because I was having a hard time.
Yeah. You're doing awesome now.
Yeah. But now that I understand how to do that.
And you've been learning from us for, what, 2 years? 2 years. Yeah.
And it's taken me 2 years.
That's called a high barrier to entry, folks. Hello.
2 years to get to the point where I feel comfortable picking up a module, reading it, putting it down, going doing something else, picking up, reading it again, setting it down, go do something else, arrive at my game.
And back then, though I ranted about this, you, John, had heard me rant about this for years before even joined as a volunteer. You probably heard me rant about this. I'm like, no, this is the game everybody should be using. I don't know if you even knew what I was talking about. You probably were thinking more of the blue one instead of this one or something. Yeah. Which isn't ideal for learning, right? It doesn't have all that walkthrough.
No, and I'm surprised I got through it.
Yeah, it is. Fits the old cliches. That
did require me to read the entire book and the entire module before.
And I kept saying, no, it doesn't have to be this hard. You guys are making it way harder than it needs to be, and we could quadruple adoption so quickly. And I'm really pushing towards us making this our intro instead of 5th edition.
Okay.
There's a coolness factor of 5th edition. But let's put it this way. How about all those parents who ask us, well, how much does it cost for me to get them for their birthday or Christmas? Which I get asked every time.
Available on demand right now?
Yeah, $10.
$80.
For D&D, the player's handbook is $40-50. You get it discounted, sometimes 30-something, whatever. That's just to play. You want a DM, you need the DM's Guide to Monster Manual.
Yeah, Monster Manual.
Yeah.
And then
so you're on $100.
Then you need an adventure.
Well, the books are enough to create your own if you've already learned how to role play.
Yeah.
If you already learned to role play. That's over $100. And the parents are like, whoa. Now, they spend way more than that on video games. They really do. But if they're not even sure their kid's going to do it, and you give these kids 3 big books, right? I mean, in this day and age of competing against video games of all kinds and cell phones.
If I would have gotten this for Christmas, as someone with a disability, these 3 books are the ones that you need. Basic role-playing game books. This is about the size of the books I bought. I would have cried.
So this is the industry leader, Dungeons & Dragons. Their starter set is this.
Right. Yeah.
It's a reduced, lightweight version of the rules. You can get the rules for free in PDF format. It's only $20. Good price point. Parents, yeah, that is good marketing. It has everything you need to run a group, but unfortunately, it is not good for people who've never role-played before.
No.
As an introductory adventure,
and if you have a disability,
it does not walk you through exactly what to say. You have to figure out how to do it.
It's hard to read.
That's
if I would have,
this one isn't
my
as bad
reading
as
level. I know, but my reading level at the age group of the most common that we see, I would not have been able to read all of that.
Right.
Even that little pamphlet.
But we're trying to focus on it says special groups, just the general population that isn't doing this, and this is all. That's the starter set rule book. You got to read this.
It's on the back page.
Appendix doesn't tell you page on 30, 31, 32 pages. Okay, 32 pages to read through. Then you get to Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure, and then you go through the adventure. And it's a 64-page book. Again, the size is fine, the system's fine. You get into it. Can I jump straight in and run this without pre-reading it, John?
Not exactly, no.
If you've never role-played before.
No.
Can you open this and just go, oh, I'm going to read this and do this and do this and do this? There's little things here and there.
I think you could make it through...
If I open it and I say, start play, you've got my friends here.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's Cave Mouth. Let me jump back. Part 1, Goblin Arrows, Adventure begins. The City of Neverwinter, a dwarf named blah, blah, blah. And we run this all the time for introducing people, but we're experienced role players. It then says, encourage the players to introduce their characters, ask players. Okay, so that's all. That's okay. Driving the wagon, encourage them to do it. Goblin ambush. If you're using the Meet Me and Fandalin adventure hook, and character approach, blah, blah, blah. 4 goblins hiding. Review the goblin stat block in Appendix B. Since the goblins are hiding, you'll need to know their stealth skill modifier by 6. Fix the user surprise. Use the initiative rules in the rule book. Okay. When the time comes for the goblins to rush forward. So I got this huge block of rules here now that I got to figure out.
Right.
I got to flip back and forth between this book and this book. No, like if I just jump in and go, hey, let's try playing this game. I got this wonderful thing for my birthday yesterday. Let's sit down. I want to play now. So I got a getting started section. Okay, game dice. Okay. When can I play? Here's page 4. Structure of play, 6 abilities. Okay, ability checks. Okay, skills. Okay, skills. Saving throws. Combat. I'm on page 9. Order of combat. Your turn. When do I get to play? Movement and position actions in combat. Hide. Attack rolls. Page 11. Page 12. Damage and healing. When do I get to play? Dropping to 0 hit points. Knocking a creature out. Travel. I don't care about travel. I want to play the game. What do I care about travel? Equipment. Carrying capacity. Weapons. Okay, weapons are cool. Page 17. All right, I got equipment and money. Oh, cool. There's money. All right, cool. Attack and harness. Spellcasting. All right, cool. What's a spell? Spell level, cantrips, rituals. I'm on page 21. Spell lists. Okay, maybe I could skip the spell list. I don't worry about that right now. I'm not going to read all the spells. When do I get to play? When do I start playing? Appendix. Conditions. Well, I don't understand. When do I get to play? Go back here. Getting started. This is your first time playing. The most important things you need to play the game. Someone needs to be the dungeon master for your first play experience. If you're reading this, you're a good candidate to be the DM. One of your friends knows how to play D&D already. You might want to ask that person to be the DM and help you learn the game. That's assuming you need help.
Right.
Once you've read this chapter, take a look at the first few pages of the adventure book. That will help you understand the role of the DM and the basics of the D&D adventure. So you're going to be flipping back and forth. Okay, that's not bad to give examples. And they're saving paper by pointing to the existing. That's okay. But I've got to read and read and read. From there, look over the rest of this book. You don't need to memorize everything before your first game, of course. But it helps if you know where to find the rules while you play. No, they should tell you. So in this book, it says, go to page such and such. Go to section such and such.
Well, and...
This doesn't... It says, go see the appendices. It doesn't tell you the page number. It doesn't just give you the section and then say, for more info, go to there. It should, you in the adventure, just give it to you and then say where you can get more info to learn the rest of it. But layer in the learning. Don't front end load it. How many times have I said that? What happens to the kids if you sit there spending 15 minutes explaining how the system works? Instead of 5 minutes, here's your characters, pick your characters, are we ready to go? Okay, adventure! 45 minutes, we have immersion. 90 minutes, we've got flow state. They're hooked. They're loving it. Compared to, I'm still figuring out when I get to play. So I tell my friends all these rules who've never played.
Oh yeah, and then you get other people who drug him out for an hour.
And I have to tell them all these, I don't know all these rules. How am I going to... You guys get the point? Mm-hmm. So, well, it's not terrible if you have somebody who's already played a few times before, who kind of gets it, had a few sessions. Okay, this is fine as an intro then. This is not any good for somebody who's never played, who doesn't have somebody who's already played. You want to have new adoption. So then we've got, because this is to bring in new people, right? The starter set for Stranger Things.
Yeah.
So this is assuming you're excited because you saw, this is exactly my point. They are excited, they've never role-played before. None of their friends have any role-playing game. But they keep hearing about this role-playing gaming thing in the movie. We already did an unboxing of this. And did we try to do a playthrough?
Yeah, it was kind of...
And what happened?
We didn't get it started.
Because?
You had to read the whole module.
You have to read the whole freaking thing. I've never played before. I'm excited. I want to play Stranger Things. When do I get to play Stranger Things?
After you read
43 pages. Are you kidding me? 43 pages? When do I get to play?
We played a little bit.
Right. We're experienced gamers, though.
Yeah.
Notes to myself. And it's cute. It's got Will the Wise and all this. And so, not the best font because it's handwritten. It's got all these examples. So this is his adventure book in the... So this tells you what all the areas are, like the sections and stuff, and it is helpful. Like this is closer than the other introductory book. Did somebody come in? Dan or somebody?
I heard something.
Yeah, this is closer because it is a little more hand-holding.
Yeah.
Conversation, rumors on the road. Yeah, so this is closer. It doesn't have sections of blocks of what I should read and shouldn't read out loud. It gives me lots of descriptions and I have to rely. And again, creatively, that's great. But that's not what you should do to absolute beginners. Absolute beginners, start them railroaded, then give them training wheels. This is training wheels.
Right.
This is not railroading. It's railroad adventure, but it's not on the electric car, or the theme park ride where you're locked in. You know, you're along for the ride. You're going to learn stuff as you go. You know, the history tour, whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't. You know, you just have to follow along, and you're safe. You're not going to screw up. Then you get to the training wheels where there's more chances for error. Then you get to sandbox. So this is training wheels here. This, the basic, the regular. I dropped the die. Did you find it? It fell out of the. Or something.
No,
you dropped something. You dropped what?
You dropped Demogorgon.
Oh no. Oh, my Demogorgon. Oh, I didn't know that was in there. This is better training wheels than this. I will, because that adventure is a little bit more, better training wheels than this. They're both training wheels, but neither is the railroad tracks that'll walk you through safely to avoid collisions.
It just looks, I don't know.
Who knows?
I was in the garage and all that stuff.
GURPS, Steve Jackson Games, you're not alone in not getting it as well as the Frank Messer thing. Right? They're in good company. As D&D's the dominant, they took their market share back after 4th edition's catastrophe. they've gotten their market share back. Again, this is $120 or give or take. This is the 3 books you need to have the full version of the rules. The Dungeon Master Guides, Player Habit, Monster Manuals. You can play forever with this, but that's what a parent set would be after the starter set. And not a good way to start. Kids would be like, that's a lot of reading. Once they're hooked, great. They'll do the hard work. All right, so we made our baseline point here. Those are high barriers to entry. This is the lowest barrier to entry to role-playing gaming, as far as I'm aware, exists anywhere. And we talked about the other adventures. So B1, Introductory Adventure, walks you through the same way. So after I run this and I decide I don't want to DM anymore, John, I'll hand it to you. Would you run B1? You run it, maybe just part of it, maybe all of it. And then you decide, that's too much work, I don't want to do it. Danielle, would you do it? I'll go grab B2. B2 is another introductory one. And we can play the same characters, they're just slowly leveling up.
Yep. And
each of us takes turns GMing, and it walks us through step by step, because it's basic D&D levels 1 through 3. And it goes from, railroad tracks to training wheels quite nicely. And then you get to expert set, and it starts to open up wilderness and other things. Now you're getting from the training wheels to a little bit more freeform and more freeform. You get to masters and companion level, masters level. Now you're really starting to open the sandbox because you have dominions. Then you get to immortals level, where you can get to try to become a deity and everything.
And even when you're moving up to level 3.
That's a transition from basic to expert to help you for the first time go from basic to expert, from level 3 to level 4.
With lots of hand-holding and advice.
And beautifully done. These UK modules were always really exceptional. The UK staff was really quite good. So we've got some examples here. Now let's go to the other extreme of barrier to entry. And I'm sorry, I really like the GURPS system in a lot of ways, but Steve Jackson Games is really, unless we're missing something, I can't find it. They are worse than clueless about barrier to entry. At least from the 2010 forum postings I was reading, they're vehemently against lowering the barrier to entry.
They do have GURPS Lite.
They do have GURPS Lite. So again, making the system easier is not the problem. I can teach children to play Rollmaster, and they will love it. But I won't teach them Rollmaster all at once. I will layer it in. First, I will start with a pre-generated character that they can pick from. I will not make them make a character. I will say, here's 5, 6 characters to pick from. What would you like to play? Do you want to play the magic user? Do you want to play the warrior? What do you want to play? And like, well, I would like to play the, like, well, okay, these are the choices you have right now. Okay, what's the one you like to play the most? It won't be perfect, but it's just so you learn. Later, when you know more about this, you can make your own character, because now you have an idea of what the choices are to make. You shouldn't be trying to make character generation choices at this stage, because you have no idea how things work. So, pre-gens. We cannot find any. We've got the iconic characters in some of the genre-specific releases. We cannot find any. Now, there were, in Wizards, in 3rd edition, that's from 1998. It's totally out of print. You can get a PDF, but it's out of print. Wizards, Rogues, and Warriors, the different ones they came out with for 3rd edition. But we're now at 4th edition. 4th edition came out some years ago. We cannot find a single pre-generated set. They've got one example one, and then how it's filled out on another one, but they're not for you to play. They're just to show you how to fill out a character, make your own character. We cannot find any pre-generated characters. So what we were hoping to do today was refresh on the Cthulhu Lite system, GURPS Lite system, and then get into the full version as we refresh how GURPS works. And then we were going to evaluate the different genres. We want to try GURPS Steampunk. We want to try GURPS Cops. And GURPS Mysteries. And Old West, and although that's out of print, and Powers for the superheroes, because we're evaluating all the different superhero games. We have to go through a methodical process. We will do an activity analysis on all of these, and we're trying to find for each genre the ideal introductory game to introduce people who've never role-played before, from around ages 8 or 9 or 10. If younger is great, but 8 or 9 or 10 on up, young and old. to get them hooked. They love the superhero movies. They don't want to play fantasy or sci-fi. They want to play a superhero game. So we have 10 different superhero games to evaluate. They all come with pre-generation. And pre-generated characters.
Have already done.
Yeah, which had pre-generated characters.
Yeah.
So that the barrier to entry was lower. Now, none of them were great for all of you had to take a bunch of time to read and prepare, didn't you? Right. You and Shane so far.
Yeah, I took a ton of time to prepare. You did one too.
Superhero one?
Yeah, I did a superhero one. I did
it wasn't.
Oh, you tried to do that one was tough. Heroes Unlimited. That one didn't go well. But
mine wasn't that bad because the
Sentinels.
But
it was also in its beta pre-release, so
and it
was okay.
It kind of walked you through it.
But it wasn't a complete system either. It was kind of a prototype.
And they're putting out the. Actually, I think it's about to hit.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes open for that. Yeah. So we've gone through all of these, and again, out of print, 3rd edition, and I have some. These actually have made characters. You can pick the different level of how powerful they are by their points. So we've got a category of, whatever type of character. And then there are actual example characters that you can then write on your character sheet and be ready to play. And just go. And so there's like 27, what do they call them? Character concepts. Or no, in this case it was templates. I think it's character concepts in 4th edition. And then examples for like 4 different examples of each at different levels of power for the game, the style of gameplay. Because the way GURPS does it, it's a level-less system, skill-based, and everything's points. And so a low-key realistic system would be like 50 to 75 points. A higher-end adventure, just lightly higher but more average is 75 to 125. Then you start getting into like epic at 250 to 500. It goes up from there. And so each of these, so they'll give you like 4 different point ranges of examples for each of these. This was a good idea. Good job, GURPS. Now, what's interesting to see is in the forums, as we were trying to find pre-generated characters to do some introductory adventuring here, in the forums, anybody who asked for pre-generated characters was not only told no, but hell no.
You're wrong for asking.
They were saying there's no way to do it. Nobody wants pre-generated. It's too boring. You'll never be able to make it match. And just make your own character. It won't take you that long. And they have an ultralight version, short, fast rules that it's 7 minutes per character. Well, if you have 5 players, that's 35 minutes before you can even start play. And in this day and age, if you've got a 2 or 3 hour window after school or whatever, after work, gets late fast, you've had a long day at work, you've just blown 35 minutes that you could have been playing. Is that the end of the world? No, of course not. But you have a lot of competing factors. And I hear a lot of people complain in the RPG industry about, computers and short attention spans and all this. And they whine about it, but they're not doing anything to adapt to changing circumstances. And it's not that hard. The answer is already there before you. The Frank Menser approach from 1982. If every game developer, and I already had this conversation with Jonathan, who is developing a game, and he's doing it. If every game developer, except he's using 5th edition, so he's not doing it for the system, he's doing it for a setting, but he's following the guideline. Every game developer would follow this as a template, teach them to play by themselves, assume nobody else is there, GM them total hand-holding for their first adventure, give them a complete ready-to-run adventure that tells them when to read aloud and when not to read aloud, walk them through. Yes, it's railroady. I'm sorry you're a jaded gamer who is bored with a dungeon crawl. I understand it. I've been gaming since 77. I understand. That is not fun for those of us who played a long time. We like really rich, dynamic, whatever.
Or even people like me who don't like, well, I do like dungeon crawls, but I like dungeon crawls when I get a regen.
Yeah. But a pre-gen, you mean?
No, a regen.
A regen. Okay.
Yeah, like as in Dark Souls or...
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. You're talking about, video games, not tabletop.
I messed up, but I gotta go
back. That's totally different. So, because now you gotta make a new character. So, this isn't a hard template to follow. It actually makes your life easier, because one of the things Jonathan was agonizing over was, how do I get the right size to introduce people who've never played in my new world and introduce new races? And I was like, choose this as a template, you'll be fine. And he's like, oh my goodness, that makes it so much easier. He was in total analysis paralysis.
Right.
And I'm running this developer after developer after... I sound like I sound like Steve Ballmer from Microsoft. Developers. There's a video meme. Developers. Anyway, I run into all these game developers who ask me these kinds of questions, and I'm like, read the Frank Menser 1982. And then you've got your template. Just copy that, please. If all these games, including Wizards of the Coast, would release this style of box, I think role-playing game adoption will quadruple in its rate.
And I think if you brought back the small adventure,
yeah, the small, you don't need a ton of them.
Make a lot more.
You don't. Well, okay, it's already proven that's not a way to make money in and of itself. Modules, the market has spoken. Most game masters, once they get going, do not want pre-made modules.
No, I'm talking about beginners.
Beginners, yes, exactly.
I'm talking
offer
first
a
to
handful.
Fourth level.
Yeah, offer a handful on some transitionary ones and such. Offer a couple here and there. And then, know that most GMs, once they've cut their teeth on this, are not going to buy any more modules, and that's okay. Don't rely on that as your business model.
No, but if you're...
And then those are okay.
But if you're getting someone who hasn't seen it...
Yeah.
And they're buying this...
Yeah.
And then you can, quick sell them a couple of small modules, like, okay, you did this.
Yep.
Well, these will come after.
And you don't have to have a huge, have these huge collections of modules, and that's what TSR did way back when. And there was a market for it. Now people have less of a market for it. Whatever. That's fine. You don't need to have a huge library of full-made campaigns and adventures and modules, but have a few.
But it could scaffold
have a few.
Too. If you have the box set with the 2 or 20 some hours of gameplay, and then you have the 10 others that remove the scaffolding.
So after all this long rant, but it's of value. I hope you find it of value.
I heard something.
Is it the wind? We've been ransacked. We had hoped to be running GURPS today. We didn't know which one. We were trying to figure out. No, we were planning to be running GURPS every Sunday for the rest of this month. We're not going to be running GURPS this month, it looks like. We don't have time right now. We have to evaluate about 15 to 20 systems in the next few months. We will come back to GURPS at some point when we have time.
Or if we find a GM who wants to take us through it.
If one of the competing products that we're going to be evaluating, so let's say superheroes. Let's say we go through the 10 different superhero games we need to evaluate right now that's in our current queue. We're trying to find one good superhero role-playing game that's perfect as an introductory adventure for our drop-in RPGs that are every Friday and soon to be Saturday. We're about to have Spokane Parks and Rec. All these programs. We introduce hundreds and hundreds of people a year, new people to role-playing gaming every year. And it's going to exponentially increase as our reach grows here. It's going to be thousands a year soon. But we do. We expose hundreds of people a year to role-playing gaming who've never been exposed to it before. So we have to pick a game that's going to help them in just a 3-hour session, tops. Get
half the time,
them hooked.
I get 15 to 35 minutes.
After one to half a dozen sessions, these kids and adults go and buy the systems and go create groups of their own, whether it's with their families or friends, whatever. We don't see them again after a while. We get feedback from time to time like, oh yeah, we loved it so much we went and bought the rules and now we're running our own game. This is really important. So we have to pick a game system that is physically in print. It can't be PDF only. It has to be physical. Now, print on demand's fine, but there has to be a physical, tangible book, first of all. PDF is great. Lots of people love that, but you better offer physical copy. Either print on demand is the most efficient because you don't have to keep inventory. That's fine. But it has to be in print. That's one of our criteria. If it's not currently in print and they can't get it physically, we won't even evaluate the game. Because they won't be able to go easily pick it up and have it physically available for them. And it has to be a complete adventure within 3 hours, which through our research has shown is about the sweet spot, the minimum sweet spot to have a good adventure, get immersion, get flow state, really enjoy a game, and get hooked, right? And really love this and want to do more. You get too much shorter, it's hard to get into that zone. You go longer, you got to start taking breaks and more breaks and such. So write an introductory adventure with the rules, everything, the first time they sit down, that can be done in 3 hours. So we have to go through games and find which ones we can do this. Adventures in Middle-earth, Cubicle 7 got it with Eves of Mirkwood.
Yeah.
That's an excellent within 3 hour adventure. It, give or take, but
you still have to read it beforehand.
Yeah, it's not good to teach somebody who's never role played, But for us to introduce somebody,
I think that someone who hasn't role played, who might not even have the 5th edition books, would get the Cubicle 7 box set.
Except it says it. Yeah, you might be able to get.
And then get through.
It would be really hard for them. It would. Yes, they can, but the barrier to entry is high.
It's hard, and it's high, and you have to be someone who's willing to read
the whole freaking thing and make sense of it to a whole new concept. Yeah. So again, it's an easy solution.
Are we just losing our minds?
Mine. Yeah, there's no sign of anybody out there.
It might be the wind because the storm's coming in, so we may be hearing stuff getting knocked around by the wind.
Yeah,
that no longer applies. Yeah, I've been meaning to tear that down. Thank you. I need to get that back door window, this back door here fixed. I want to put in a secure door, and then I just have people come around the back instead.
Yeah, make sure you have a clean, clear path.
I know. I'm not there yet. Give me time. So, this is the solution. Everybody out there, if you're involved in any way with development, please do this. And
it makes our jobs easier, and it makes your jobs easier.
And that means more people are going to buy your product. Exponentially more. And it's not lowest common denominator. That's the thing. You don't need to dumb down your system. You need to layer in how you teach the system. Don't try to teach the rules all at once. Teach them as they need it, as you go. For example, if you teach a kid to ride the bike, right? You're a parent teaching your kid to ride a bike, or you can be an adult, that happens too. Do you go into all the physics about why bikes are designed the way they are and about centripetal motion and all these other things, why it stays upright? Do you explain all of this first? Like, I just want to ride the bike. No. You need to understand the law of conservation of energy. You need to understand, matter is neither created nor destroyed. You need to understand thermal dynamics. Do you sit and explain all these rules about how to ride a bike? Or do you say, hey, son, here's a bike. I got you. I'll hold the seat for you. And we'll just run along. And you just turn the pedal. You'll turn the pedal. I'll help you along. We'll be okay. You get into it, and then over time, like, okay, now take the handlebars. Okay, you got the handle. Okay, it's a little wobbly. I know. I got you. I got your seat. And run along a little more here. And like, okay, see, we're riding, right? Yeah, you got the handle. Okay, I'm going to let go of the seat. No, Dad, don't let go of the seat. Hey, okay, I'm going to be right alongside you. If I need to grab it again, you'll be just fine. Okay, all right, let's do it. And you let go of the seat, but you're right there, running along with them. And I'm riding.
First road rash.
Is that more like you do? And then you pick them up and, rub dirt in the wound and, and give them a big hug.
No, he rubs dirt in. I mean, children do need to be exposed.
Help love them. Yeah, they do. They get them back on there and get going. Which is going to be more effective? Hours and hours and hours of lecture of the physics of how to ride a bike, or let's get them riding a bike. And then when they say, so why does this work, Daddy? How come I can stay up and this way I fall down? Well, son, I can get as technical. And then they start to glaze over and they're like, let's go ride some more.
And then I'll teach you more physics.
And it doesn't matter whether you're an adult or a kid. The neuroscience of learning shows that learning in layers through distributed learning, not mass learning, is the effective way to learn most effectively. And role-playing gaming enhances that. But everybody out there developing these games needs to understand this. And we already have a beautiful template here from 1982, and you can go buy it. The player's one for $5 and the DM's one for $5. Grab the PDF of your developer. Check it out. Now, again, I'm saying this is for a learning basic set. This is not what you use long term. This is lousy. I've seen lots of people critical of the lousy layout on this. You're right. As a reference book, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. But that's not the point of it. It was to introduce people who have never played before.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for that. Then you offer, so again, this is your introductory set. Just like the box sets that they spend so much money on. You do it for $20 or whatever. $20 is a safe price point. Mm-hmm. Wizards does it, others do it. And then you offer the full version of the rules after they've learned their basics.
For $50.
Whatever the price, the $120 with D&D really.
$25.
Yeah, starter set. So people will tolerate that. That works. This is not rocket science, people. It's already well established in multiple industries, and it's already been precedent set in this industry. So, and I'm going to keep harping on it till we start seeing a change.
Well,
we saw the beginning there.
Yeah.
This year. Only 2019, 2012. Only 37 years later.
Slow adopters.
Okay, John. So anyway, we're not doing GURPS at least not today,
nope.
And probably not this month. I mean, we're planning to make this GURPS month. Every week we're going to be running through GURPS games.
And
without pre-gens. So if you know better, if you're a GURPS guru, and you're screaming at us on the monitor going, what are they talking about? They're morons. They don't know what they're talking about. You idiots. It's over here and over here. Like, okay, we missed it. We searched the web over and over. John searched it. I searched it. We've gone through book after book after book, and somehow we missed it. Okay, it happens. We screw up. We're human. We're flawed mortal creatures who make mistakes. Tell us.
Yeah.
What did we miss? Because we can't find it. We don't see any pre-gens. Now, there are third-party sites that we have no idea about the validity of those character builds, if they're any good or not. Like there's sites that say like GURPS character sheets or something. They have 175 characters that have been uploaded by different people. No idea if they're good builds or not. And they're not Steve Jackson Games. They're not Warehouse 23. No idea. So Steve Jackson Games, please, we love your products. We really do. I love Car Wars. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And all these different genres. We want to use your products in our settings. We think they're awesome. We want to expose other people to a really great flexible system that can be as simple and as complex as you want. And you've set too high a barrier to entry. For us, we're experienced gamers. Now, it's not for us personally. Like if we want to play GURPS ourselves, we can figure it out. That's no problem. But for us to go to a library, a community center, a school, a hospital, people at the park when we use our RPG bus and RPG trailer, to go there and say, oh, we'd love you to learn this new game. And then they love it, and they go, how do I get started? Well, you got to go buy GURPS Lite, and then you got to get this, and you got to make your characters first. And, oh, the adventures, well, there's one free adventure you can download, but it doesn't have any pre-gens, which we did. We downloaded the freebie that's on there. It's, what's it called? A's something or other. It's a caravan escort, caravan to Ein Eris, which is freely available, which is smart to have that available. That's good.
If it was freely
Stick
available,
some pre-gens in there. It is. This is freely available.
I know. Oh, no, but with pre-gens?
Just make 5 or 6 pre-gens available for this adventure.
And
that's all you need.
They're only meant for this adventure.
Right. Yeah, because you're saying, well, it's not applicable to everything else because there's all, like, just this adventure. Quit getting into analysis paralysis.
Any power level. Don't even have to pick a
Say this power level, this is how you play it.
You're like GURPS Lite, level 1, first time you
Well, they don't have levels, it's points based.
Right,
so points are typically like 125 points.
Okay.
So 125 points, GURPS Lite, play this adventure.
Yeah.
Then you can layer in. Now, again, that's not perfect.
No.
But
that allows us
we need this. Create these pre-gens that go with this that are published officially through Steve Jackson Games. Make it freely available or not. I buy the book. I bought Wizards. I buy stuff all the time. If you sell it as a book, you give me a book of 20 pre-gens or something. Again, 6 pre-gens.
There's more copies.
And you want to charge $5? I'll pay $1 a pre-gen at this point if it's officially Steve Jackson Games that I know they're properly built and everything. Mm-hmm. And I'd pay $5 for that. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, throw in a choose your own adventure book just for the fun.
Well, so this is just so the thing is, Steve Jackson Games has created a whole layer of barriers.
Yeah.
We're talking about one that's preventing us as experienced game masters to introducing new players. Yep. Yes, we can create our own pre-gens and everything. Of course we can do that. Duh. That's not the point. The point is we want to introduce people to the game who then can go on their own, introduce their friends and create groups, which we do all the time every week.
The time we could be spending reading more of your modules.
And introducing people to more. Because we have all these genres we want to run. We want to run steampunk. We want to run Old West. I wish you'd bring that back in print, please. We want to run the mystery and cop stuff, the police procedural stuff. We want to run some of their cyberpunk. Because, I mean, my goodness, cyberpunk, Steve Jackson Games, Electronic Frontier Foundation, hello. The whole history there. I'm a huge support. What Steve Jackson did for our digital rights because of what the feds did to Steve Jackson Games in the 90s. Thank you for helping with Electronic Frontier Foundation.
We want to give you money.
We want you to succeed. And I'm just pulling my hair out going...
We have given you some money, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean...
But, you know, and would buy more, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, these are all my own personal copies here, but RPG Research would also then buy kits.
Yes.
So once we go through this whole evaluation process and we figure out what works. So our Tier 1 games right now we have so far, and again, we're tweaking them still. Mm-hmm. We dropped Star Wars FFG. We were using it as a tier 1 game. We dropped it. The barrier to entry was too high for new players.
And
we could,
GMs.
well, it just, we had, like, because of the dice interpretation.
Right.
This is a mechanics issue, too. It didn't have a good introductory. The dice interpretation made it, the players could never learn it fast enough in a one-time exposure. And it didn't have behavior modification. But the other two things were the bigger issue. Too high barrier to entry, we have dropped that product from tier 1 offerings. More advanced players, great, not a problem. But for introducing people who never played before, we no longer do it. We no longer introduce out of the hundreds of people a year plus, it's going to be thousands soon, that have never role played before, that we're introducing to this wonderful activity. They're not going to get that experience at tier 1. We dropped that. Instead, we replaced it with Doctor Who, Cubicle 7's Doctor Who.
Which is
two six-sided dice. And now, it has some issues in that it doesn't have great introductory adventures. It has other issues. But it is something that we can introduce new people to, that they can get into it and find it and learn to play, because the rule system is light enough and the story walks you through enough. It's possible. It still doesn't have a good starter set, and so that's a problem. But it does have lots of pre-gens.
Lots.
Right. The number one obstacle right now, why we're not running GURPS this week and maybe this month, or indefinitely, I don't want to say that, is the lack of pre-gens. Official pre-gens that we
might not get to evaluate this until level 2 or 3.
We're going to now go back and evaluate 15 other competing products over, and we can only evaluate. So each product we're going to run once or twice, once a week. We have to run through the game with pre-gens, and then if we like it enough, we'll go back through and make our own characters and run through with custom characters. So that's 2 or 3 sessions per product. So it's going to be at least 3 to 6 months before we get through those products. And then if we don't find something that we're happy with, we'll circle back to GURPS and see if anybody's created some pre-gens we can use, and because I just don't see how we can make it a tier 1 offering. Tier 2 is no problem, but tier 1 is where we introduce new people to role-playing. Right. And we want tier 1s to fill in the gap for cyberpunk, for steampunk, for Old West, for procedural, cops procedural, mystery, stuff like that. We're trying to find, and superheroes. So 5 genres we're trying to plug the gap in our low-level tier.
All of them. They're all
GURPS has them all. Now, they have a directly competing product that gets it better. John? Burps. So this is Chaosium. Who makes Cthulhu,
basic
ElfQuest.
Role-playing game, Burps.
Yeah, basic role-playing. So this is the big competing universal system. It's also skill-based, level-less, etc. A different approach. It's a simpler system. It's not as expansive as GURPS by a long shot. It's much more basic. Call of Cthulhu has been running on Burps. There are other variations of Cthulhu, Trail of Cthulhu, etc., which are even more basic. Burps is a pretty good. I like Burp. I like it well enough. I wish they had more expansion. They don't have much in the way of expansion the way GURPS does. Yeah. They have a limited set, and they're often not in print. So, but as a basic core system, it works fine. Barrier to entry is low. It's a pretty easy system. And Call of Cthulhu is their lowest barrier to entry to learn to play with. They've offered multiple solo adventures. They've got a solo campaign. You could play for weeks with some of the solos they've got out. So now DMing is a different story. The DMing barrier is still too high, but it's not any higher than their competitors.
Choose your own adventure to get you introduced, and this is a thick choose your own adventure.
Yeah, we did it all in one session. We did about 2 hours. But it was a lot of fun. We had a good time. Yeah, we ended up destroying New Hampshire.
Then
about 60 square miles of New Hampshire.
The actual modules.
Yeah.
I hope it's not the 60 square miles
where my kids live. Yeah, no kidding. That's where the barrier to entry got too high for the GM. You now have to read everything for that, and so that makes it harder to transition from player to GM. So they didn't quite get it there yet, but they're closer than anybody else as far as that stepping stone. It would not, with GURPS resources and their great writers and everything, they could easily beat the pants off of Burp and D&D and all of that with a good introductory box set that follows this model with whatever genre they want to pick. Just to do one of your multi-genres. You've got multi-genre adventures, your Infinity Worlds thing. Do an Infinity Worlds thing where one person is steampunk and one person is cyberpunk and one person is medieval fantasy and the other one's modern day cop. And it's an adventure where they're all stuck together because they all fell through a portal, whatever it is. How cool would that be in a nice box set introductory that shows? I would love that.
Oh, yeah.
That shows that role-playing gaming is not limited to D&D fantasy and not limited to, Star Frontiers or whatever. I love Star Frontiers was fun, but anyway.
That
or
would
Star
be
Finder.
over $100 that probably we'd spend collectively on just that, because you
just that intro set because we buy
you'd buy a set. As I was saying, and then RPG Research
we have Adventures in Middle Earth and the One Ring role playing game, Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space, D&D 5th Edition, Beck Me here, and No Thank You Evil as kits. Each one is a carrier with everything you need, all the rules, a lot of the expansions, dice, pencils, everything you need to populate an entire table, everything the game master and the players need, character sheets, all of that, so that we roll the kit up to the table, take everything out, and we're ready in 5 to 15 minutes of setup time with the maps and everything laid out for people to walk up and go, what is this? It's a role-playing game. Well, how do you play? We'll have a seat and we'll teach you. And 5 minutes later, they're playing. 45 minutes later, they're immersed. 90 minutes later, they're so immersed they're unaware of external stimuli because I drop books and close doors to see if people respond.
He stands up and jumping.
I do all kinds of things to test people to see what their immersion level is.
Sees it.
And within 45, 90 minutes, they're there. And so that's our tier 1 offering. Well, we still want to offer an Old West game. We want to offer
superheroes,
steampunk, cyberpunk, etc.
Cops.
And a procedural one like Cops, Mystery, Gumshoe, things like that. And we're not there. We haven't found what we want there. GURPS could so put together something like covered all that in one little introductory thing with just 5 or 6 pre-gens, a set adventure that railroads you through. It is okay to railroad beginning players.
Level 1.
Oh my goodness.
Or whatever you guys use is
125 point level.
Set 0. You have nothing.
Yeah. Well, then that's lower level. But anyway, that's fine.
Okay. You have a character.
Yeah. And they get to pick from it and play. And then they're hooked and they're like, oh, can I buy this for $20? Oh, my parents would get me that. And then play it. Oh, it's not that hard.
This one is 30. Almost.
The Cthulhu one? Oh, Dragon Age?
Dragon Age is 30.
Yeah, but that is way more than just a basic introduction set. That is a full campaign for levels 1 through whatever. Okay. And then there's a second box to continue it. That's a full game. That's not just an introductory set. That's a full game. So it's kind of a gritty one. So we've gone on at length. We wanted to run GURPS today. We can't. We don't know when we'll get around to it. If we're wrong, if there is a book out there for 4th edition, I'm aware of the 3rd edition stuff, please tell us. Or if it's already in the books and we just missed it in our couple of hours of searching, because then tell us and we will gladly, send updates and go, whoops, we were wrong. Here's the correction.
And then we'll play it next week.
And we will gladly play. We want to play this. We really do.
We wanted GURPS month.
Yeah, we're planning to run GURPS all month this month and into next month.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it looks like it's not going to happen. I don't know if it'll happen this year. That breaks my heart. Mm-hmm. So please, Steve Jackson Games, somebody relay. We're big fans. We're supporters. We need a little support here so that we can then introduce this game to everybody else. And we don't have the resources. We're a nonprofit. We don't make any money. We're all volunteers here. I would love to make this box set ourselves to have the introductory thing. We don't have the resources for that.
If we had time and money, we would sell it to you.
Licensing, hello. Anyway, you guys have the resources. You guys should probably whip that up in just a few weeks, and then play test it. We'd gladly help you with the play testing.
Oh yeah, we play test a lot.
So
we promote it.
Oh, well, it's just the way once it becomes tier 1, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, we don't get any money for any of this. We're not endorsing products, what have you. We do the research. We see what works best for what we're doing.
Use and what we do is different. We believe in to help other people.
All right, guys. So we've got a whole bunch of others. We got the Hero System Basic Rule Set. We got Masks, a New Generation. Marvel Superheroes is out. Mutants and Masterminds is out because D20. Marvel's out of print. Champions.
Marvel, get back in print.
Yeah.
No, DC.
Heroes Unlimited. We have to circle back to that after we've done the others. I'll run it because it's a more complex system and see if it's better. We've got Bash Ultimate Edition. That's one we need to evaluate.
Is that a lower end one?
What do you mean?
Like, not as complicated?
I have no idea. We don't know anything. I just get all
There were no pre-gens, by the way, for Heroes Unlimited when I did it.
That is a barrier to entry. That could be a problem. Well, there's comic strips in here.
Woo! I'll run Bash.
Because there's comic strips.
Introductory adventure: Heroes to the Rescue. Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3.
Yep, I'm in.
It's a one-page adventure.
Okay.
Can I do that?
Are there any pre-gens?
Wait, didn't we do Bash?
No, we haven't done Bash. We did Shane's. What was it he ran?
Power Outage.
He ran Sentinel.
Power Outage.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did Power Outage. You did Sentinels, and then you tried to do when I wasn't here. Heroes Unlimited, and that didn't work out. Yeah. Do you want to do this one?
Oh yeah.
It looks like super easy, but there might not be any pre-gens. If not, that's a big deficit.
You have 2 minutes to learn this.
Do the research. No, not today.
Okay, let's go.
Not today. Okay, then the other one, this was highly recommended from the British. Squadron UK, British superhero role-playing game system by Simon Burley. What's so special about it? Addictive character generation, perfect blend of random roll and design. Basic character generation sheet. It's pretty detailed. Backgrounds, superpowers.
Right now, I'm personally working on 4.
Yes, the one ring role-playing game. That's fine. Everybody else needs to learn that too. So
yeah,
I'm working on you guys learning Beck Me. Shane's offered to come back around and try to do. He wants to try to do the one he did again. Power Outage, because he says he did a bunch of stuff wrong and he wants to try it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's go through the other evals first, but he's willing to try one other.
That one has some nice pre-generated characters.
This one was pretty well recommended, but this looks like more complicated. And again, I don't know if there's pre-gens or not.
There's no pre-gen.
Well, you'll have to. You need to take a little more time to
you also have to look
so here's
online.
another one that was highly recommended.
Yeah.
Villains and Vigilantes.
Oh yeah, that one was really recommended by a bunch of people online, right?
Yeah, this is Villains and Vigilantes 3.0 Mighty Protectors. Now, if I remember correctly, this is the one where you are your real self, is your real self. And then you have your superhero persona. I think that's this one.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, reading the preview.
Talk about a little bit of bleed going on here.
Potentially, yeah. Potential huge bleed. Okay, superhero. Sport, workplace. So again, and that may have been a different version, but that's. I think that's this one. It could be wrong. Could be a different one.
I think it was that one because I think I remember.
I think so. That's what's in my head. Combat record sheet. Well, these character sheets are terrible. They're just spreadsheets, basically.
Yeah.
Not very good character sheets. Lots of comic strips throughout this one as well. Old comic strips.
I like comic strips because they're easier to get the point.
But this system looks a lot more complicated and it looks all black and white though. That's good too, though.
Steve Jackson.
That one is?
Backed by it.
Basic action game. Not Steve Jackson.
Basic action. That's just a link.
Okay, PDF is available for purchase there.
From RPG Now.
Yeah.
And Steve Jackson Games E23 is the warehouse. So E23 is
their distributor.
No, it's an online store and they sell a whole bunch of different products, not just Steve Jackson products.
Okay, because I was like,
no, that's just an online. That's like Drive Thru RPG. They're just saying different sites you can go buy the product. Yeah, it's totally different. So you need to do a little more research for jumping to conclusions on this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we don't make you do it today.
Yeah.
So we got Mighty Protectors, Squadron UK.
Cubicle 7
Hero.
to print fashion.
What?
Oh, I'm just reading through their news feed.
Find the character sheets.
Let's see.
Character cascade.
I've also got a couple of diceless games we've got to teach you guys, expose people to. So there's Amber Diceless, the original.
Right.
And then I have about 5 others. I also have some some set in India and such. What do you?
You can buy 50 handmade, approved by the company, pre-gens for $5 that you can print.
And they're approved and verified.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, Steve Jackson Games do the same thing. We'd be perfectly happy with that. That makes it accessible.
Yep.
That lowers the barrier to entry. All right. What else that we were looking at?
What's the one set in India?
Shadowrun, we've still got to do Shadowrun, the new edition, 6th edition.
Yeah.
Rifts, we still got to do Rifts eval because that's multiverse.
Well, the one I was running is a Rifts game.
Which one?
The superhero one. The one I tried, that's a Rifts game.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Palladium. Palladium books. The same people who make Rifts. It's not
the same rules.
It's not the same setting.
No, it's not the same setting.
Right. It's the same. Well, it's Palladium books, but well, it's Palladium's rule set, which you can play Pendragon, you can play the Superheroes Unlimited, you can play Rifts. That's not the same as saying it's Rifts. They're compatible with each other. That's like saying Merc and Rolemaster are the same. They're not. They're compatible with each other, but they are their own subsets and isms to their setting. But their setting vary.
Because I thought it was like Rifts :
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Chart-based system. Dashes.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know you don't. I was just.
You were saying there was another dice this one besides Amber that you had?
Yeah. A couple of them. They're basically the reboot of Amber because Amber's out of print.
Yeah.
But we've got Lords of Gossamer and Shadow, Lords of Olympus, Shadow Knight. These are basically a reboot of it. It's trying to fix some of the things from the original version. And anyway, so we've got diceless games I want to introduce everybody to. What else do we have? We've got a lot more in the queue. I just need to make the list. Some of them I just haven't bought yet because we've got so many. It's on the website. We've got about 20 different games we have to evaluate on the website. I just haven't bought all of them. But anyway, that's 10 or more right there. So,
this is kind of cool.
Oh, Star Trek Adventures.
Yeah,
Star Trek Adventures, big time. What?
Their fan base reached out to them and they listened.
From the pre-gens?
For everything.
For everything, so it's very...
Everything I've been reading on there,
Steve Jackson
games
usually has been very fan-base centric, so I hope they're listening.
All fan base.
So I would really like to check this one out. The Star Trek Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's behavior modification in it, but I am tickled that it's
They have the Prime Directive, and that's about it.
Yeah. Which...
That's a storyline thing. That's not a penalty.
But it is in the rules rather than the GM trying to tell you.
Right.
It's already there. You know when you now. It's assuming you're playing because if you play the Rebels and such, then they ignore the Prime Directive totally. So it depends on what you play.
The Prime Directive only states that you're not to interfere with
the development of other. Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't mean you can't lie, steal, cheat.
But they have a bunch of general orders for all the rest of that. It depends on what you play. So, but we need to evaluate it, right? We've got to figure it out. And I would like, and it's a 2d20 system, so it's something different. It's the more modifius system. So I'm very interested in trying that one out. As I said, we're already running you guys on BECME. So tomorrow we're continuing the activity analysis. Next week will be applied gaming again. So BECME. To get you guys through that, right? We're doing a bunch of the BECME to get you up through the different versions.
Both days.
Yeah.
Right. And then the
for next Sunday, you want me to run Star Trek Adventures, or do you want to run that? Do you need more time than next week? Be realistic. You don't have to rush.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about what next week looks like for me.
Yeah.
Next week is my light week.
Okay.
So, I'm going to say no. Just because that
and
way I know I'll have it.
I will plan next week to run Star Trek Adventures. Unless you got something in mind, John?
No.
Because you're still prepping for Tor, right? You need more time on that. It takes a little while. Tor has a barrier to entry. It's a great system. It's a little hard to read. It's better. The original version was really badly organized. We gave a lot of feedback, and their hardcover edition is much
I need
better.
to borrow the book again. I give it back to you.
Okay.
No, I'll look.
Got the PDF.
Yeah, I got the PDF, and I'm watching these videos.
Okay,
that'll help.
Go with that. Then I will start prepping Star Trek Adventures because this is like it snuck up on us. We didn't even know about it. Stumbled across it last year. and I was out the year before. So,
this has 0 points.
Resources are.
And it was exactly the same thing as Doctor Who.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we don't have any comments on the stream, unfortunately.
We'd love to have any or answer any questions.
Yeah, but yeah, feel free to post to the videos now. Again, this is going to go to our Patreon supporters first, so it's going to be a long delay because we release it to our Patreon supporters first, and then a month later it's released to the general public. So if you're not a Patreon supporter, please do consider donating and joining. Go to rpgresearch.com/donate or go to patreon.com/rpgresearch and join, and then you'll get that early access for all the great. We have essays from our researchers, we have blog postings from them, we have actual play, we have theory, we have an RPG talk show on Mondays from 4 to 5, all sorts of good stuff going on there. And so I hope you found it interesting. If you're a GURPS person and you were bothered by our assessment here, kindly, respectfully, let's have a conversation. Let's not get into name calling or anything like that. Yeah, let's have a constructive conversation. Again, we like GURPS as a system. The problem is we think the marketing is a little broken for Steve Jackson Games. We're hoping our feedback can help with that. Start with, let's get some pre-gens out there with us, and then a good starter set that helps people learn how to play, preferably a solo adventure type. And then something to help a GM it for the first time using these pre-gens. And then a starter set, all put that together perfectly. I think we'd see a lot better GURPS adoption.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. You'd see it from us. We're pretty darn certain because they have such great again, there's supplementary content we can use in other systems, of course. It's designed to be used.
Yeah.
But we would like to actually let people learn the system and play the system. So we've got to lower that barrier to entry, folks. And it's not rocket science, it's marketing science. It is neuroscience.
It's not rocket surgery.
It is neuroscience, rocket surgery. So thank you for joining us. John, Danielle, anything else you wanted to cover before we call it a broadcast?
No, I'm good.
I'm so glad you're not evil. We try to keep it heroic here.
We wish.
Oh, yeah, we so want to do the steam.
I still claim to be good, that's all.
What?
Yeah.
I'm just claiming to be good. Legal reasons.
We so want to run the steampunk, but we don't have any pre-gens.
Yeah.
We were totally looking forward to run steampunk. We got the miniatures,
even if we had
supplements.
Even if it was just one
all we
setting.
need is the pre-gens. Just give us the pre-gens to start with.
Even if we only had one.
Okay, we can only do one setting, so let's go with steampunk.
Yeah, if we only do one, it would be pre-gens for steampunk with a starting adventure that is designed in a way that the person is assumed to have never... We can do it without this.
Yeah.
But at least give us the pre-gens. If you give us the pre-gens, we will be able to evaluate it with an adventure. Just give us one adventure and the pre-gens.
It'll be that day.
Then layer in a better introductory starter set, but that's down the road. You need pre-gens and a good starting adventure to introduce everybody to the steampunk universe. Not asking that.
Nope.
We want you to have not that barrier.
Yeah. All right, we've said this ad nauseum and repetitively. We're going in circles here. So
I will make you one special offer though. If you pay me, I'll write it for you.
I'll help. You don't have to pay me. You pay him.
All right, wherever you may be, happy gaming and Namarie.
Dream well.
Good night.